Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another horrific review. I'm slightly cheating on this one because I did watch it earlier in the year when it first came out, but I was looking through list of horror movies and going by date order, and this popped up again. So I thought I may as well talk about it because it's actually a lot of fun. And definitely, you can tell a movie on a second watch whether you enjoy it or not, because you can watch a movie the first time, especially in the cinema, get dazzled by the lights, kind of come out and go, yeah, okay, and then completely forget about it, and then watch the second time like, ugh. Or when you think about movies, you've seen with some of these reviews. I watched the movie like the day before, come on here, and then as I think about it, I'm going, God, I actually hated that movie. This one, not so much. This is Choose or Die. It's a normal one that changed the title. So originally it was known as Cursor, which is the name of the game featured in this. This one didn't really do it any harm because both titles are good and they're both relevant. So no problem here. Fun movie. So we'll start off. It's about an old 8-bit game. Now, for anyone younger that might be watching this, not that I think you would, but uh, like my first computer was a Spectrum 48K. The specky rubber key was about that size box, and you put in a tape deck, and that's how you loaded up the computer games. That sound to have, the like the dial-up tone is classic because it was the old and they talk about it during this freaking that basically analog telephone networks worked in sound pulses. It was when they moved the fiber optic cable and they realized that light pulses can carry 1,000 times more information, greater volume of information. That's when the revolution happened with the internet and where we are today. But back in the day, that's how you got stuff in. Capacity was the major thing. You filled up entire. If you wanted like a server rack would be an entire floor of an office. I've been watching clips of Terminator 2 actually. Last couple of days, just been one of them things have gone on, and they're showing the same. I mean, these huge magnetic tapes, and that's how they carry data. It's a completely different time. And funny thing is, only in the last 20 years. It's not as if we're talking 100 years ago. I'm not that old, but this is going through that era, and the fact that an 8-bit game, and there was loads of them. God, the first one I ever played was at primary school. It was called Granny's Garden, and it was floppy disks. Floppy disks were modern. I mean, that was like the upgrade from cassette tapes loading in computer games. But it was that will you go left, type L? Will you go right, type R? Will you do this? Yes or no? And that's the way the games work. This one it's a horror game, so basically every choice has a consequence, and you're designed to lose either way. So to start this off, we've got massive, like isolated mansion type house. Um, that sort of high achieving sort of family. We've got Hal as the husband, and you've got the wife and the kid are in the next room bickering, and the wee kid is a teenager, typical spoiled brat, privileged, getting into bother because he's acting up, give me attention type thing. The mother's arguing with him, and he's just in his den, checking this game out. Just sets up from the start. Like, the kid's horrible. There's something that happens during puberty that normal loving kids turn into psychopaths. It's very, very weird. Hormones are a terrible thing, but that seems to be the better upbringing you've had, the more of a dick you turn out to be. As in, the more you've got in life, not so much parenting skills, but it seems to be the more money family have, the more freaking screwed up their kids become. Not all the time, but there's a bit of a pattern. A lot of ones that try to lead me astray with the rich kids, when I was growing up. I've seen it for myself firsthand. But anyway, you've got this going on. He loads up the game, converts it to his screen, and then it's going level 1. You're ready to play, and then it gives him a choice. His tongue or her ears, choose or die. And he chooses his tongue and then comes out and his wife's cut off the kid's tongue. So what happens is this game actually affects reality. We'll fast forward a bit, and our main characters, Kayla and Isaac. Now, there's been a lot of criticism, and I'm one of them, with this whole culture of Mary Sue's, so to speak. Supposed to be creating strong female characters, but all they are just snarky, horrible creatures. This character, Kayla, is how it's done right, in my opinion. This is someone who's brought up in a rough area, rough background. So basically, she's daughter, single mother who's a drug addict, and we find out quite quickly on that she recently lost her brother in a swimming pool accident, a wee brother. So they're dealing with trauma, addiction. They're an absolute shithole neighborhood. There's a parasite drug dealer type who's the tenancy flat supervisor. Kind of seen this before. It's almost, you could believe it's true these type of people exist. It's not hyperbolic, if that makes sense, because there are sleaze bags that prey on the vulnerable. It turns out, he's basically trying to break her down. Hand go, nobody leaves this neighborhood. Your brother thought she could leave this neighborhood. So it's a whole, and look what happened to her. It's a whole crabs in the bucket scenario where people brought up in rough neighborhoods, and if they try and bet themselves, it's a who do you think you are? The UK is terrible for it. Never mind America, but this country is the worst for it. Always analogies brought. In America, if somebody makes it and buys a Lamborghini, people come and ask them, how'd you do that? Because they want to do it too. Here, if you're a working class estate or a council estate and you buy a Lamborghini, people run the key up aside and destroy it because they don't like you having more than them. Or there's this mentality, between the class system that if you're getting above yourself, how dare you want to be the best you can be? It's really sad and depressing, and they do it really well in this movie, so it is relevant, but it's a really sad and depressing mindset. And that's basically, we're all misery loves company, that's that old thing. And that's what we're seeing here. Kayla's, a talented computer programmer. She's got a skill, and she's trying to get up and get out of the situation. Excuse me, sorry, a wee bit of a frog in the throat. Yeah, so there you go. She's trying to get out of this. Our friend Isaac, who we'll see from the start, is, he's got the hots for her. He's that typical, young lad friend zone. We've all been that awkward teenager. Now these are young adults, but he's coming across as like the rich kid who's living in squalor purposely, if that makes sense. Kayla goes around, she gets old equipment, does it up, fixes it. He tries to show her a bit of charity, isn't ban something off her for overpriced, but she's still got that bit of pride. But the point I'm making with this is she's not snarky and nasty to him. She's rough, but when you grow up in that environment, what the hell can you expect? You have to get out of the environment before it takes comfort. It takes a moment to breathe before you can smooth the rough edges out. And I can tell because I grew up in that type of neighborhood, and it's shit. It really is. And you really do feel self-conscious about moving out, or trying to do something for yourself or leaving that bubble. So she's bringing that across. She's the first one he goes to. You can see it straight away in like the first act with their friendship, which is done really well. He's the first port of call. She kind of dumps on him, but it's not directed at him. She's just venting, and he kind of knows that. And it's done really well with that. And he carries a torch for her. She kind of acknowledges later on, but she's not using them, if that makes sense. She's just damaged herself and got stuff to work out. Like I said, this is how you write a strong female character, because she's got adversity, she's got flaws, she's got stuff to work out, but she's got the talent to shine through, and it's brilliant. And she's not just great, best at everything. Now, what this movie does is she discovers, she's going around job lots and that, and so saying they're, buying up job lots and trying to like refurbish equipment, and that's what they're doing to fund. He's trying to start, his own gaming company, and he wants to break the mold, and that's his kind of dream. So he's living like he's living, and they're doing what they need to do to survive, so to speak. She's got a cleaning job, treated like absolute crap. You've got the little power complex, the supervisor, nasty piece of work, just treat people like shit because they can. It's that the closer, the closer the breadline people are, or it's all about how can I put this? The more animalistic, the more like wild animals people become, the closer you are to the bread line, and the more you're fighting over crumbs. We'll see it today, but you also see the other side when people are too privileged, which is a good example for the first scene. So we're showing the contrast in lifestyles that it isn't money or lack of money doesn't make happiness or contentment. There's actually a really good underlying message, and that's the thing we always talk about horror. Horror's and if you hear Cameron, he's a major proponent for this theory that horror is a social commentary. And the reason horror has lasted and not been affected by the culture wars or the woke stuff is because horror's always been like that, but it doesn't beat you over the head with a message. It subtly plays it in and lets you think about, what's going on and deeper line. And that's what makes the horror genre. That you have to look at humanity, you have to look at what's going on around you, and not everything's perfect and squeaky, because if everything's perfect and squeaky, you don't get any tension or drama. So here we go. We're seeing all this. So what happens is they decide to put the game in, and she doesn't load it up straight away. What she does is they transfer it from analog to digital. So it just reminds me in the early 90s when I was actually into computers. All the leads and wires and like trying to make one thing into another. I think I've talked about this before. Flipping computers are really boring now. Very clinical. And the funds kind of went out of them. But there you have it. So she transferred it on their laptop. And then later on, she's in a cafe. And this is when she loads up the game. And then she gets affected. And effectively, flip's sake, what happens is reality sort of stops. And then she's in level 1 in the game. And she realizes quite quickly she's caught. So what was it? Cake or coffee, like one of them. Yes, it changes. She gets coffee, and the waitress can't stop until she says stop. It's a wee bit of a hint, and then it's take a break. Yes, she takes a break, and then the waitress starts smashing glasses. And then the choice is continue or clean up. And then what it is, clean up means that the waitress is completely compelled, can't stop herself, and starts eating the glass. So every time you play this game, it causes suffering to somebody else. So she straight away back to Liam. Not Liam. God, I'm mixing up with I was going to talk about the music in this. Isaac, sorry. Straight back to him, tells them what's going on, and then they realize they're stuck. They play it, and then he gets caught up in it too. And then they start to try and investigate where did this come from, what's happening. I don't really want to give spoilers because it's worth watching. It's a really good movie. It's really worth watching. It's worth watching for the superficial horror story that's going on, and then it's worth watching again for the underlying message of human nature in wealth and depravity, depravity. So in deprived neighborhoods and in wealth, human nature can be just as ugly, and it's all about excess. Going too far with things. They try to investigate. They find out what's behind the computer program, and how it came to be, and then to try and figure out how to beat it. And that's kind of played out. She's brought into different levels. I don't want to go through them all, but basically every time she's brought into a new level, somebody else close to her gets affected. And it's not nice. You know what I mean? It's really horrible what happened to her. And it's her struggle to come through. And like I said, this is a great example of how you write strong female character. For the morons on flipping Twitter and the likes of it who just yap, and for the scriptwriters who preach but don't actually have any talent whatsoever, this is how you do it. This is how you write. You basically write a character, and it doesn't matter who, what they are. You write a character with flaws, with adversity, actually overcoming struggle. That's a hero's journey. And guess what? Horror movies can have the hero's journey too, because storytelling at the end of the day is the basics of you're going on a journey, and it's where you end up. Really great the way this comes full circle at the end. You know, a lot of fun. The way it goes over. We'll have Robert Englund in this as the voice in the telephone, because it's based on one of those old dial-up, you know, $1 a minute, 50p a minute back home. You know, it was that type of thing. You dialed up these things. The mail order. It was a different world, honestly, because there was all this kind of stuff, and there was even before geocaching, and I know I'm showing my age, you probably don't even remember that, but even before geocaching and Google Maps came out, you know, became a prominent thing, there were games, I guess, that you could go around places and find items that were actually hidden, and you could solve puzzles. Great times. I think it's going to be impossible to do it now. I don't know if it would be the closest thing we've seen now is the likes of Pokemon Go, where it actually got people out of their houses to go and do things, but that has its own problems as well. And I think there's still a hardcore following out there, but you know what I mean, the trend kind of finished. But there was loads of these type of games, and they talk about even a game within a game, because that was the thing with the old Spectrum games I had. While the main games loading up, a mini game loaded in between with some of the modern ones. You know, this was how clever code became, and we're able to do that, and the kind of play with that. Yeah, I want to bring up, because we were talking about it on Sunday. Music. Liam Howlett wrote the music for this of The Prodigy, and you can tell the sort of influence. Not 100% Prodigy, but you know. It's good that they're still doing stuff after the past of Keith Flint, because that band was a game changer. You know, they're their own thing, and I still love them to this day. You know, they really, really broke the mold when they made that band. So yeah, it was a shame Keith passing, but it's great that the other members are still having influence and still having a love for music, and can still influence pop culture and movies, because that's the sort of band perfect for this movie. You know, it's kind of brings back that era of the 90s into modern times and all that good stuff. So I would highly recommend this movie. It's a lot of fun. It's actually a good social commentary as well. And it's not blaming or pointing fingers at anybody or saying you're bad, you're good, because that's boring and it's preachy and horrible. It's just asking you to take a look. What are people like? What are people like when the chips are down? What are people like when they live in over excess? What are people like when they get a bit of power? You know, there's a lot of very good power dynamic here, and it's not just narrowed to one type of person. It's, you know, you see the cleaning supervisor, you see the drug dealer, you see the I can't remember what he did, Hal, the businessman who has the power of the game. You see Kaylee as well. When she gets power, what does she do with it? When she realizes she has power, you know, it's we see the inventor of the game with power. You know, I mean, there's all that kind of play about, and just get you to think. So there you go. That's my review. Hope you get something out of it. I want you to see it. That's why I'm not going too into the plot. I want you to go see it. It's great fun. And I'm going to be back on in about 10 minutes because I want to react to a trailer that dropped today and Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. So I'm going to do a separate stream for that so it does its thing. So I'll be back on in about 10 minutes. And until then, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.